Well, it's cold, it's dark and it's windy, so obviously the most appropriate format is 4x5. Now I will admit this is a mistake. There is not enough light, there is too much wind. Even the Bronica wouldn't be ideal with the little apertures and the slow film, so I'm going to have to make the most of it because I was desperate to come out with a big camera. I don't know, I've just got that yearning to put a few big sheets in and develop them in odd tanks with archaic chemicals. You know what it's like. So here I am, let's make the most of it. So the setup for this shot, I have a standard lens and I've got a lovely tree trunk with a big knobbly growth coming out of it. Now that is the anchor for the right hand side of the frame. But I've got this lovely broken branch off the same tree just flowing down there, and that gives me a bit more symmetry to the frame. It's not just a big monolithic tree and an empty left hand side. What I like also is all these nettles in the foreground down here because they lead you into it. Even in black and white it looks quite effective. So let's get the shot set up. Now, even though I've got the dark cloth which I use to focus with, it's still too dark to see the composition effectively for focusing. I can see the rough outline of the elements, but I can't even show you with the action cam because it's too dark under the cloth. But I do carry a little laser pen, which I'm going to blind you with it, but you know, I do carry a little laser pen which I use to pinpoint one little spot on the main focal plane, and I've set that up to be the tree trunk. And I've been able to focus on that very accurately. Now there's no movements in the camera here, no tilt shift or warp weft or anything. It's just straight on, and I'm going for f16. Now I've gone for f16 for a number of reasons. One is the main elements are in the same focal plane, the tree and its branch. But the other reason is speed. Now this is actually Rollei IR400, but I'm not shooting it as an infrared film. I love it as a conventional film as well, and I've got a few boxes of it. But even at f16, to get enough shadow detail, you're looking at 15 seconds. Now 15 seconds with this film ends up being a minute with reciprocity failure. That's where the film speed effectively gets slower once you go above a second. It just becomes less sensitive to light as it becomes saturated. So I have to shoot for 1 minute. Now there is movement. There are branches blowing around. I can't do anything about that. There's going to be movement in the frame. But if I went for f22, I'd have an exposure of 30 seconds, and that would translate to 3 minutes. Now, that's just getting too long for me, so I'm settling on a minute. So here's the large format dance now. I've got the shutter set to the T exposure because it's a minute, so I click it once, it opens the shutter, and I click it at the end of exposure and it closes the shutter. So I've got the shutter cocked. I usually do a quick trial firing to make sure it all works, which is well worth doing, with film being as expensive it is, even black and white. So let's pull the slide. Okay, dark slide out, and let's just set my little stopwatch, reset it, trip shutter, start stopwatch. Nice to have a little mechanical one really, I mean, but the Apple Watch is fine. Just have to keep lifting it up to refresh it. So yeah, talk among yourselves for a minute. Okay, getting towards the end. And close the shutter. Okay, let's put the dark slide back in. Dark side facing outwards because I know it's been shot then. Be careful not to dislodge it. Okay, I'm going to do a safety shot as well. And you know, I'm going to do the safety shot at 2 minutes, which is a long time. But it's very dark, and if I get under exposure with black and white colour, if I get under exposure with black and white negative film, it's going to look horrible. A bit of overexposure with this stuff looks lovely, so always rather have the extra safety shot, even though it's going to be 2 minutes. There's going to be lots of movement. Well, this is actually the first exposure. Plenty of exposure in there, and I will explain at the end of the video why there's so much exposure, cock up coming. But anyway, beautiful shot, I think. I have got the movement in the background, which is, yeah, understandable given the amount of wind, but it's nice tonality. I do like the tree trunk anchoring it there. It's very solid, obviously. And I think the branch coming through does add a little bit to it. Possibly not my favourite shot from the day, of the upcoming ones, but a very good start nonetheless, considering I've not used large format for quite a while. Now, I'll be totally honest with you, if these shots, any of them today, come out well exposed and in focus, that's a win. because I haven't shot with a large format camera for absolutely ages, and it's completely the wrong conditions today. So I'm just hoping to get back in the saddle, as they say. I know they say that it's like riding the bike, you never forget, but you're certainly wobbly when you get back on, aren't you? Now, this is one I've shot on a number of occasions before, and I came back earlier, but the light was far too dull. But it's beautiful now. There's not much light, but there's a bit more. I do like the arrangement of this tree coming across here and these ones crossing at the top, but I've got to keep that sky out. So let's get set up. I often do the initial focus just using a set of, I think they're only +1 or +2 reading glasses, but really I need about +4s or 5s. And that might actually save me having to use the loop at all. For the hair, it's getting cut next week. No good with a dark cloth. Anyway, got the composition set up and I'm going to go for about f/22. Now, I'm shooting in the vertical format, portrait format, and I want the tree trunk along the middle. I know that breaks rules, but I don't care. And I'd like to get as much depth of field as possible. Now, it's a standard lens, it's large format, there isn't much depth of field. I have, however, applied a small amount of front tilt, just a small amount, you don't need much, a little bit will do you. And if I stop down to f/22, I've got a feeling it's pretty much going to be sharp front to back, although some of the foreground stuff might be a little bit soft, but it's quite dark and I can't really tell, so I'll have a go. When you stop down the lens to the actual shooting aperture, which in this case is f/22, and this lens goes down to f/64, by the way, so that will be tiny. When you stop it down, the already tiny amount of light that gets through at f/5.6 when you're viewing it becomes incredibly dim, and yeah, you can barely see anything, so it's much more difficult to focus. That is the initial phase out the way, the tricky bit, getting it all focused up. Now it's a case of getting the film holder in, doing a meter reading. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of sheets as per the previous one. Let's just seat that in there, and then let's get the spot meter out. Right, okay, spot metering. Now, as always, black and white film meter off a significant shadow where you want lots of detail, and then you can come up a couple of stops because that's the darkest area. That'll put it on the zone 3. I have got a video about spot metering for film a few years ago. If you want, I will put the link in the description, promise. And yeah, so just take a quick meter reading at f/22 of that lovely dark tree trunk. 22, I'm getting 8 seconds. So you bring that up to 4 seconds to 2 seconds, which gives you zone 3. But I'm actually, because I know it's very dark and I want a ton of detail in there, I'm going to go for 4 seconds. 4 seconds at f/22. Now you have reciprocity failure with this film, as I mentioned earlier. So let me just get you into the camera here. Okay, now 4 seconds. 4 seconds, Rollei IR 400 comes out at 8 seconds. So, if you can see it, 8 seconds is what I'm going to shoot at. So that's a bulb exposure or a time exposure in this case. So let's do a quick safety practice shot. We've got the lens on the T setting, so I'm just going to trip the shutter. Shut it down first, Steve. Trip the shutter and close the shutter. So I know it's working fine before I put the film in. Okay, here we go, cock shutter. Lift the dark slide out. Put it in your teeth. Get your stopwatch ready. On your app or your phone or whatever. And open. 8 seconds. Counting down on the little watch. Close. Voila. Put the dark slide carefully back in. As I said earlier, I am a bit fingers and thumbs with the large format. So I'm doing doubles, shooting 2 frames of each scene. I've got plenty of Rollei IR 400 when it was cheap, and nothing's cheap now. So I'm going to take another shot, and I'm actually going to do it at 15 seconds. Now that is lots of exposure, but it's large format film, black and white negative, loves overexposure. So the worst thing I'm going to have is slightly bright highlights, and there aren't really many, so I would rather use the extra sheet of film and develop it and get a decent shot than not. And also this is informing me for my future visits as I hopefully use this camera a little bit more. So here we go. Shutter cocked. Let's take the dark slider out. Look at my stopwatch. Clip shutter. Go to 16. Thanks for watching. I'll have a shave at the end of it because I'll have grown a beard. And close the shutter. There we go. Easy peasy.
Well, once again, this is the first sheet for reasons which will become apparent at the end of the video, and there is a ton of detail. I think I did pretty much get front to back sharpness as well, so a little bit of front tilt helped greatly. Yeah, it lent itself to it as well because I have no tall trees going from top to bottom in the image. They do recede nicely, and I love the ton of detail. It's actually a place I've been to many times before if you've seen my videos, and yeah, I really enjoy shooting this scene.
Not leaving anything expensive behind. Anyway, yeah, that was okay. I've shot it before. I think it probably suits the square format better, but I did want to shoot it with large format because it's got a mass of detail in there. It's all about detail, that shot. Can't imagine shooting it with 35mm or even the grainy films. The grainy films do look good at times as well. So I'd like to get one more before I finish. I don't know, just like the idea of getting 3, I suppose. Okay, I've found my next shot. It is these beautiful fine trees here with tons of detail. Just maybe a couple of ferns in the foreground. I don't know, I've got this little sapling. I won't be able to get that in focus. Or maybe just the trees in the background because there's so much detail in there. Now I don't want to get the trees diverging, converging, looking all weird. So I'm just leveling up my tripod head to start with. And I'm going to keep it fairly level, even if that means eliminating some elements from the bottom of the frame. I really don't want those trees looking all weird and bendy. Most unusually for me, and for large format, it's actually pretty much spot on. Even before I put the camera on, just set the tripod head up, drop the camera on. I think it's because there are no major super strong elements in the frame. They're all equal, so it doesn't matter if I exclude one on one side and include one on the other. It's all pretty good, and I think it's going to be relatively easy to shoot for a change. Going straight in with the loop. Everything's pretty much level and planar, so I'm not going to be able to tilt the lens because I've got things from top to bottom in the frame all in the same plane. So if I tilt it, top and bottom will go out of focus. So it's a case of just stopping down, maybe f16, maybe f22. I'll have a quick look first anyway. If I can find my way in here. Embarrassing. Strange thing for an old man to be doing first thing in the morning, but there you go. That's life, isn't it? Oh, that's pretty good actually. I think, to be fair, oh god, it's all in focus straight away. Flipping heck. It's large format games really easy. Right, I'm just going to I'll put the cable release in obviously and take a meter reading, and that meter reading will determine for me whether I shoot f16 or f22. Obviously there's a small difference in depth of field there. I want as many in focus as possible. That's the way the shot works, I think. So let's have a quick look, shall we? Take some averaging values. 8 seconds f22. Yeah, 4 seconds f22. Bit brightness down the bottom maybe. Is there any brightness in the frame? 8 seconds f22, 8 seconds f33, 8 seconds f32, so you're looking at about 4 seconds. So I could get away with a second on this. I'm not putting any filters on though. I do need all the speed I can get. So shall I do a second, or shall I do 2 seconds, or shall I do both? Yeah, I think I will shoot one at f16 and one at f22. Second at f22, second at f16, 2 seconds at f22. Final answer. Stop the preview. Stop down the preview, so now the camera is in shooting mode. There's a little lever on all these lenses. You go into preview mode so you can look through it, holds the aperture open. Then you're into shooting mode where it closes it. So I'm going to set the camera to f16 and go for a second. Test fire it. Listen for this. Yeah, it's about a second, isn't it? Do it again. Make sure the shutter's not gone all lazy on me, sitting around in a box for a couple of years. And yeah, let's pull the slide. No need to count this time. There you go. Slide back in. Pop it out. Turn it over.
Well, this one actually came out better than I expected, and I think it is largely because of the massive levels of detail you can get with large formats, even with a 400 speed film. I love the fine tracery of these very delicate trees and the small amount of ferns in the bottom, but the backlighting is superb. It's just a very easy location to shoot this one, and you can choose how much you want to include or exclude. So it works in all sorts of formats, and I am very pleased with this. Possibly the best one of the day, I think.
You know, when I was about to hit the last frame there, I just looked at my light meter and it had ISO 50 and I'm shooting ISO 400. I think what's happened is this morning in the dark, I pressed the second ISO button and set that to 400. But I've defaulted back to the first ISO when I was actually spot metering, so I've overexposed everything massively, and I was already being generous anyway. So I think, I know you've already seen the images, so there you go. But I'm going to have to pull them in development. Now, pulling means giving them less development. They've had tons of light, so they don't need much development. Could end up being very nice, actually, and being large format, it's more forgiving. Be a bit tight with 35mm. Not so bad with roll film, but these are big negatives, so I've got everything crossed.
Well, thankfully, having realised I'd made a cock-up and overexposed by 3 stops, I was able to compensate, as I say here, by using my developer for considerably less time. I developed them in ID11 1:1, and I dropped 30% of the development time off, and they came out absolutely beautifully. There's tons of shadow detail. There's no blocking up. I'm really pleased with the images. Just goes to show you how forgiving these negative films are, especially in large format.
Anyway, cock-ups aside, a very pleasant morning in the forest. The wind's dropped. I've got a few practice hours in with the 4x5. I think I'll bring it out again. You see how rusty I was, can't you? But anyway, thanks for coming along as ever, and I'll see you again soon.